All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're totally dismantling that modern illusion of flashy, loud wealth, and we're doing it using a covert 2,400-year-old strategy. We are bombarded every single day with images of loud, show-off success. But what if I told you that true power and actually lasting wealth are built completely in the shadows? Yep, today we are cracking open the ancient wisdom of Chanakya. This guy was a brilliant strategist, and his rules were honestly so potent that kings actively tried to hide them from the public.
So, we're starting with a pretty stark truth straight from Chanakya's ancient teachings. If you've been told your whole life that just waking up early and grinding hard is the magic formula, well, you've been sold a comfortable lie. The reality? The truly wealthy do not broadcast their actual blueprints for success. Think about it. If you knew how the game was really played, you'd instantly become their competition. So this explainer is for those of you who are ready to hear the raw reality about power, not just a bunch of motivational fluff.
Let's jump straight into Act 1, the illusion of the lion. We're going to expose the incredibly dangerous trap of being visible. Society is constantly telling us, be the lion, roar, dominate, make sure everybody in the room knows exactly who you are. But here's the catch. The lion gets hunted. The lion is constantly being challenged because everyone knows exactly where it is and how big of a threat it poses. The fox, on the other hand? The fox stays totally hidden in the shadows. It observes, it calculates, and it completely wins the game without ever even announcing its presence. In the pursuit of wealth, being unseen is literally your greatest advantage.
Take this ancient story of Seth Donpatlal. Honestly, if you bumped into this guy in the market in the Magadha Empire, you wouldn't even look twice. He wore an ordinary dhoti, lived in a really simple house, and looked exactly like your average, everyday merchant. Zero showiness. But behind closed doors, the most powerful kings and lords of the land relied entirely on his wealth to fund their endeavors. He controlled the empire's finances precisely because nobody had a clue he actually had them.
And man, does this ancient wisdom apply directly to our lives today or what? We live in an era where the second someone buys a luxury car or a new watch, bam, it's immediately posted online because they think it makes them look successful. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Posting your new car doesn't make you cool. It just paints a massive target right on your back. Jealous relatives start tallying up your net worth, friends mentally prepare to ask you for loans, and your rivals suddenly know exactly how much cash flow you have to compete with. You aren't building a brand here. You are just building a list of predators. Okay, moving right along to Act 2, the armor of invisibility. Let's take this from theory into some actual defensive action.
So let me ask you something. Think about it for a second. Who is your absolute biggest enemy? Is it a business rival? The stock market? Well, Chanakya's answer is going to completely shatter how you probably think about competition.
Here is the raw, uncomfortable truth. Your most dangerous threats aren't distant, faceless competitors. Nope. Your biggest enemy is often the person sitting right there at your table, smiling with you, praising you to your face, but deeply, deeply envying your success behind your back. The most dangerous threats always come from the people who actually have access to your plans and your vulnerabilities. Let me give you a perfect and honestly kind of tragic example. Meet Vikram, a brilliant young CEO in Delhi who built this amazing 100 crore empire. He was thrilled. Naturally, he wanted to celebrate. So he throws a massive party, invites his whole inner circle, and just openly shares all his future strategies and trade secrets. Well, within 6 months, his CTO takes all that knowledge straight to a rival. A year later, his marketing head just clones the whole business model, and in just 24 months, his 100 crore empire was completely bankrupt. Why? Simply because he couldn't keep his strategy quiet over dinner.
So how do we avoid pulling a Vikram? We use Chanakya's defense strategy. Step 1. Feign struggle. Look at the ancient merchant Ramdan. Despite raking in huge profits, he wore old clothes and always complained about how slow business was. The result? Suppliers actually gave him cheaper rates out of pity, and rivals just ignored him entirely. Step 2, and this is crucial, downplay your intelligence. In the modern office, the smartest person just gets rewarded with the most work and the worst office politics. By playing down your brilliance, your rivals just drop their guard. And step 3, control your narrative. People only interact with the image you present, not your actual reality. If you look totally ordinary, you remain perfectly safe to quietly build your empire.
Now, let's flip the script. Act 3, systems versus monuments. Time to pivot from defense to offense. I want you to look at this number, 365. Just be completely honest with yourself right now. If you had to stop working tomorrow, could you survive for 365 days? Or does your existence depend entirely on that daily hustle? Because listen, if you cannot survive for a year without actively working, no matter how much money you currently earn, you are still fully bound to a system that you don't control.
This brings us to a massive concept. Throughout history, families who built these massive visible palaces, what Chanakya would call monuments, usually lost their wealth within just a few generations. Monuments are things like Rolex watches and luxury sports cars. Sure, they feed your ego, but they actively eat your cash through depreciation and constant upkeep. On the flip side, true wealth builders construct systems. We're talking dividend portfolios, passive income streams, automated businesses. These systems are totally invisible to the public, but they feed you while you sleep, creating this quiet, unstoppable growth.
What this all means is that your ultimate goal is to build an empire entirely in the shadows. You should have, say, 5 different passive income streams working for you. But when someone at a barbecue asks what you do, just tell them about your most ordinary, boring job. Just say, oh, I do a little consulting. Keep him busy. True power is building an invisible network. Befriend the quiet advisor, the behind-the-scenes lawyer, the reclusive investor. Build this web of influence while letting the rest of the world think you're just getting by like everybody else.
Which brings us to our final strategy today, the power of silence.
Let's see what happens when you break that silence, shall we? Take Rohan, a young investor. This guy made a 5 times profit on a new venture in just 60 days. Incredible, right? But instead of keeping quiet, he goes loud, brags on Facebook, shares screenshots of his bank balance, acts like he's some sort of investing guru. And what followed? Absolute chaos. Friends demanding money, severe tax notices, actual threats, and an immense psychological burden. Under all that pressure, he panicked and lost every single penny. Fast, loud money burns out incredibly fast. Patience isn't some kind of weakness, guys. It is a highly tactical weapon. Now compare Rohan to a historical heavyweight like Seth Haridas. This guy was a literal billionaire in Ujjain. He owned thousands of villages. Thousands! And how did he get around? In a simple, creaky bullet cart. He wore basic sandals, ate at cheap street stalls. People actually laughed at him, calling him a cheapskate. But he wasn't being cheap at all. He was actively protecting his peace. He got to enjoy his wealth entirely in private without the dangerous, heavy burden of public envy and expectation. He just didn't need to prove anything to anyone. So, it all boils down to this one, singular, absolutely timeless truth from a 2,400-year-old playbook. Money makes noise. It jingles in your pockets, it buys loud sports cars, and it constantly craves applause. But wealth, true, unshakable generational wealth, it is completely silent. It just operates in the background, fully and quietly secure in its own power. So, I'm going to leave you with this one final thought for today's explainer. Take a really hard look at your own actions lately. Are you going to keep working for the applause of people who frankly don't even care about you? Will you keep roaring like a lion to impress the world, risking the very things you're trying to build? Or are you finally ready to quiet your ego, step back into the shadows, become the invisible fox, and start building actual, lasting freedom? The choice is entirely yours. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep your head down, build your systems quietly, and I'll see you in the next one.